When you realize you've only just scratched the surface of a video game you absolutely love, it's one of the best feelings in video gaming. Aside from maybe owning annoying teenagers at their own game, of course. I'm going to take you to 12 games that I've spent a lot of time with the challenge of getting over 700 hours of total playtime. That's 30 days straight. A lot of these games are well known, so to make it a bit more interesting, for every game I need to pick a lesser known but equally memorable alternative game that I've also played. So really it's going to be more like a top 24. Lastly, and this goes of course without saying, it has to all run well on the Steam Deck. Let's see if we can get to that 700 hour mark. Should be easy, right? Crap! We're not gonna make it to 700. What do? Why not start in 1899? Steam train is the bleeding edge of technology. Electricity is considered black magic, and people wear these kind of pajamas. But there's also Arthur Morgan, one of the most badass protagonists in any video game ever. Red Dead Redemption 2. Either hate it or you love it. Criticized by some as the slowest walking simulator ever created. Adored by others for its living world and amazing story. Me personally, I absolutely love this game. It is so good. Go hijack a train, rob a bank, chase down a stagecoach, or duel Black Bell, track down a serial killer, go bounty hunting. Really mostly just violent stuff now that I think about it. Oh, and of course there's the main quest and the side stories. This is a long game. Alternatively, for those people who don't like Red Dead 2, your opinion is wrong by the way. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Although you're probably not gonna like this one much better. You get to replace those guns with a bow and arrow, and those pajamas with... What kind of pajamas do they even wear in the Middle Ages? Start as a lowly squire and work your way up the medieval career ladder. And wait for it, you can even become a monk. If that doesn't sell you. Next up, you can play as these guys. Look at him. This guy's beard has braids with skulls. Total War, Warhammer 1, 2 and 3. We're talking grand strategy with a real-time strategy battle component when armies clash. This is the game I dreamt of when seeing those massive battles in the Lord of the Rings movies. And literally every fantasy race you can think of is represented here. Zombie pirates.
Present.
Armies of mummies.
Present.
How about these guys, the Zanage, who can literally change reality. In Warhammer 3 alone, I've accumulated over 100 hours. Thank you, Saga, for this plentiful bounty. Alternatively, challenge a sketchy courtier who is serving you suspicious soup. Turns out, it's human soup, which gives you a secret cannibal trait. And from now on, you'll be able to eat any prisoner you execute. If you want to see more of these delightful stories, Crusader Kings 3 is your game. A complicated grand strategy game from Paradox Interactive. And you can stay busy with this for years, if you can figure out its intricate systems. We're nowhere near 700 yet, but this next one is a real time sink. Let me pop something up on screen for you here. I know, really classic. This perfectly sums up the grandfather of all roguelikes, The Binding of Isaac. I know a lot of people are tired of the roguelike craze, but this is one of the OGs and you can't go wrong with it. It is such a classic. Let me quote you some numbers. A total of 717 items to collect, 196 different enemy types, 102 bosses and 20 mini-bosses to encounter. There are 43 different room types, thousands of variations on those rooms. And to top it all off, there are 22 different endings and 17 different characters to unlock. One playthrough might only take half an hour, but if you want to see it all, you'll be playing this till 2025. All the tears, poop and monsters turn you off, I have a fun alternative for you. Picture this. Your ship's in trouble, and you crash land on a mysterious planet. Wake up in the dark, and the only thing keeping the monsters at bay is a mysterious crystal. Sounds like a pretty good setup, right? Dungeon of the Endless. In practice, this turns out as a dungeon crawler tower defense game, with waves of enemies trying to destroy the crystal. Sounds simple enough, but here's the catch. The crystal powers rooms, and it can only power a certain number of them, meaning certain rooms will be dark, and this is where the enemies will spawn. So, it becomes a very strategic endeavor to keep certain lights on and the monsters away from your crystal, while also exploring the dungeon, opening up more rooms that also have to be lit. In truth, it's one of the more creative tower defense / dungeon crawlers I've played in a long time. If you are thinking to yourself, that kind of kiddie stuff is too easy, that's not for me, I've got a treat for you. This game is about dying.
What?
A lot.
Come on, man.
Often in the most funny and unintentional ways possible. Project Zomboid, where you survive a horde of zombies only to be killed by lacerations from a tree branch. Or when you leave the oven on, bleeding to death while climbing through a window. Or don't forget that time you suffocated because you forgot to turn the generator off. Or how about food poisoning from overcooked food? Well, I think you get the point. Zombie apocalypse survival simulator to the max. A 180 from Project Zomboid, but no less deadly. The long dark. You're trying to survive wild, snowy wastelands. And it is brutal. In all honesty, it wasn't for me. It didn't grip me like I thought it would. Mostly because there's no adversary. It's just you against the wild. But objectively, it's a great game, and a long one at that. Luxury cars, Mexico, and racing. Oh, and it's a 100+ hour game, easy. Worth it, play it. Alternatively, no luxury cars, no Mexico, and no racing. In fact, I think this is somewhere in Russia, SnowRunner. This game is awesome. You haul, tow, and drag freight through the snowy hinterlands of Russia. It's slow, it's difficult, you'll get stuck a lot, and you'll get frustrated. And yet, it is awesome and long. Play this one too. Next up, Kerbal Space Program. You know how everybody always says that getting to Mars is difficult? They were right. It's really hard. I'm not even sure I've ever successfully landed on the moon. or the Mun as it's called in this game. But it's a really fun game, and hey, you might actually learn something. It's all based on real science and physics. But don't let that scare you off. There will be lots of explosions to keep you entertained.
Are you not entertained?
If you want something equally difficult, but without all the failure to launch explosions, I've got Space Engineers for you. This focuses more on the building of spaceships and survival in space. No monsters, no missions, no story, just building. Like Minecraft in space, without all the adventuring. A lot of big games have taken the stage, so I want to highlight a smaller indie game that hasn't had enough attention, and people need to know about it. Baldur's Gate 3. What can I say that hasn't been said yet? Well, there's nudity. Haven't heard a lot of people talk about that. Yeah. Alternatively, a game without nudity, as far as I can remember, but despite that still pretty darn good. Dragon Age Inquisition. For some reason this is not a game that a lot of people really hated on, and in many ways it's very similar to Baldur's Gate 3. Questing around with your party, same turn-based style strategy, that's hard to say. Although maybe a little less versatile. All in all, a good game that'll keep you occupied for a long time. I'd say it's actually somewhat of a hidden gem. Shh, let's keep it on the down low. Spelunky 2. So playful and cute, yet so deceptively hard. We're talking roguelike platformer with procedurally generated levels. Think Indiana Jones, but Indy dies every 5 seconds. Yeah, that's it. But it is so darn charming. And completing this will easily take you 100 hours. Alternatively, another roguelike, but from a completely different ilk. Risk of Rain 2, a looter shooter at heart, and this is what that looks like. Kill enemy, gain currency, acquire loot, get stronger, but not strong enough. Splat. Repeat. Also, this is one of the great co-op games of our generation. Don't argue with me on this, okay? This is a great game. Everybody loves a good redemption story. Just watch Groundhog's Day. Such a good movie. This game launched in a terrible state. It was actually pulled from the PlayStation Store. I think you all know which game I'm talking about. Cyberpunk 2077. In its current state, however, I would consider this an absolute classic. Just such an amazingly rich and detailed living world. Also, the new DLC, Phantom Liberty, is totally worth it. Plus, it has Keanu Reeves and Idris Elba. If you want to know more, check this link for a Steam Deck performance video. The alternative. And technically, they shouldn't be on the list since they're not long enough. Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, and Human Revolution. Together, they're about 100 hours, so give me a break, alright? I had a hard enough time finding a good alternative for Cyberpunk, so I'm keeping them. Don't play this if you like a proper ending to your video games. I have my suspicions there was supposed to be a third game, but it got cancelled. So instead, they hand-waved themselves to an ending. Besides that, however, this is a really great Cyberpunk action-adventure. If you tell me this is the prequel to Cyberpunk 2077, I'd believe you. Try me in the comments. Shooting, hacking, cool body mods, all the usual Cyberpunk suspects are here. Play this game. It's way underrated. Plus, Adam Jensen is a total badass. If I had to pick one thing that sets the next game apart from the competition, it's this.
The task ahead is terrible. And weakness cannot be tolerated.
Darkest Dungeon. Such awesome narration. Other than that, there's a lot of...
This is no place for the weak or the foolhardy. Terrible vistas of emptiness reveal themselves. Survival is a tenuous proposition.
And... also, awesome story, creepy Lovecraftian atmosphere, and most of all, an amazing battle system. And, as I mentioned, frustration and party wipes. So yeah, play this game.
Warning,
Ensign, reroute power
warning.
from life support to shields.
Fire detected in airlock
Pressurize
A6.
the airlock, open the hull doors. FTL Advanced Edition. This is one of those games I'd wish they port to Android, so I can play it wherever and whenever. I don't say this often because playing on your phone is usually garbage, but FTL is perfectly suited for it. Travel through space, trying to deliver something of great import or some such. I don't remember exactly, it's been a while. You're being chased by the rebel fleet. Every turn you move to a different spot on the map, trying to outrun the fleet and resolve whatever battle or event awaits you on the map at that turn. It's really good. Play it, love it, you'll spend hundreds of hours with it. Crap! We're not gonna make it to 700, what do we do? Luckily, there's trains. Steam trains, high-speed trains, freight trains, trams, intercity trains, and monster trains. Those are the best. Monster trains, as it turns out, are laid out in a non-traditional vertical fashion, with 4 floors, but this works out just fine for us. On our daily commute on the monster train, we'll be assaulted by waves of enemies trying to reach the power source on the top floor. We summon monsters, traps, and enemies, creating a gauntlet to stop the enemies from reaching the power source. All the while, building and improving our deck. Yes, it is a deck builder. A very simple but effective premise, and loads of fun. Again, a game that you can play for many hundreds of hours, especially with all the different decks you can choose from. You gotta love trains. For the alternative, and people will say I'm crazy, because this should have been the main game, Slay the Spire. Also an excellent deck builder, but it just didn't grip me like Monster Train did. Premise and setup just isn't as interesting to me. There's no story, just battling. You know, the nerdy way, with cards. The battling and deck building of this game is amazing though. 4 different decks to choose from, lots of different possible builds, and a crazy amount of strategy. Now go forward and slay that Spire. What do crazy monsters, a beautiful haunting world, and rage quitting have in common? The game that makes me want to quit gaming and leave it all behind. Elden Ring. Lots of people have told me, Peter, this game is much easier than Dark Souls. Well, let me tell you something. I don't think so, buddy. I've died so often I can't even count that high. But if you're into Souls-likes, there is no other game like it. Well, that's not entirely true either, because there's actually many, but this is definitely one of the better ones, is what I've been told, because I didn't get very far. The alternative is much more my speed. Read, easy. This is for the people, including me, who want to like Souls-like games, but just have trouble getting good. Middle-earth, Shadow of War. This is the game for you. If 1. If you think Frodo is a total wimp and a real man needs to step up. 2. You were very disappointed with the Gollum game and you still need some Lord of the Rings in your life. 3. Like stated above, you suck at Souls-like games, this game is easy peasy. Also, this game has the awesome nemesis system, meaning that if you get beaten by an enemy, they get promoted, giving them increased stats and a random new trait. Believe me when I say that you can get in some real trouble this way. Also, the fighting and story are great. And that's all I had. We did eventually make it to the 700 hour mark. And all these games are my personal 100+ hour stamp of approval. It's possible I'm just really slow with these games, but that's beside the point. Let me know what you think in the comments, or maybe other games that I should have put on the list. If you're looking for more games, check out this here for amazing indie gems that play well on the Steam Deck. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.